Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Culture 360 podcast. I'm one of your hosts and producers, Jordan Nahisi.
Join with your co-host Mo. What is up, people?
If you're all trying to figure out why we are in the state that we're in, we just discussed book reports and things of that nature. And we're not going to go into detail because it's none of y'all business. But thank y'all so much for joining the pod once again. If you're on Apple or Spotify podcasts, be sure to rate the show 5 stars and subscribe. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I don't have any book reports, but we're just going to get right into these topics. So we're going to start with obviously the hottest topic of the week, which is that my champions are black. This past weekend, well, not weekend, but the past 4 days, we've seen Isaiah Swerve Strickland and Trick Williams win the AEW World Heavyweight and NXT champions. Obviously, when Mr. Swerve Strickland won his AEW World title, he became the first ever black AEW World Champion. And Trick is in a long lineage of former NXT black champions. So I wanted to know how you feel about and not to also
Willow.
I'm about to say Willow also won the TBS championship, and Athena has also been holding her Ring of Honor World Women's Champion for 500 plus days, making her one of the longest reigning Ring of Honor champions in general in history. So I wanted to know your stake on your take on black champions in pro wrestling right now.
Oh, well, we forgot a fifth, and that is our Lord and Savior, our African Lord and Savior, Cody
Cody
Rhodes.
Rhodes, oh my God.
Yes, we have 5, right? 5 black champions. Yes.
The Booker T pose.
If I could do a spitteroonie right now on camera, I would.
I would knock some stuff over that would not need to be knocked over. Good Lord.
That is. But no, it's a beautiful thing. It almost feels like we're in like some more form of a paradox because this is stuff that we always like talked about. You know what I mean? Like when we get on our forums or we get on like the wrestling internet, we're always talking about like what if like we had all black tag team champions, all black world champions, and not just being not just being like in a mid card role, like but actually be taken seriously enough to represent, be the forefront of the company, and it's like kind of slowly coming into fruition.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like everyone that is chosen is not just because it's like, oh, let's just hand them, a token just because we got an agenda to fulfill, but because these people actually deserved it. And we watched a really long, drawn out journey for everyone. For Swerve, I've been a fan of him personally. I know some people know him from like ROH, but I didn't get introduced to Swerve till I saw him in NXT, and I just thought, yo, he's the guy. Like if you don't give him a belt, you're messing around with him. And this is putting aside the way I feel about him as a person. I'm talking about just like Swerve as a wrestler. The man got it. The man has gotten it. I still wish I would have saw him with gold in WWE, but I think it's still a beautiful thing for him to be the first black world champion that we have in AEW. His character work is fucking phenomenal. It's so well deserved. With Willow, she again, I didn't know her before AEW. AEW put me on to her. I probably saw a couple matches before she got signed. I love her. I love everything about her. I love her inviting, adorable face. Like she just has a face that just makes you smile. She's got a vibe that just makes you smile.
Absolutely.
But she turns it up and she turns it on when she wrestles. I love the way she was ragdolling the fuck out of Thunder Rose in that match. That that had me laughing because like that's exactly the way wrestling logic should look like. If someone jumps you and like you know that they costed you, it should piss you off so
Molly
badly
whopped
that
them.
right
Molly
from
whopped
the
them.
start. And I love that. Like she's all smiley, like ha ha ha, giddy he with Chris Statlander when she came out. But as soon as that bell rang, she was
Yep.
out. And it was a great fucking match between her and Thunder Rosa. Loved it. Who else do we got to mention? Trick, my baby daddy. My baby daddy. Y'all understand, for me, that's been such a journey, not because it's my man, but like there's so many times I want to riot. Because I'm like, nah, this is his chance. Nah, this is his chance. Nah, this is his chance. No. This is his chance. And it's just like, yo, it finally happened. I could finally find peace. Because I was afraid they were going to pull a Bianca with him and that they were just going to build him up to look amazing and then just set him off to the main roster because he technically got it to be on the main roster. To my
Yeah,
standards, I know people feel
yeah.
differently. Dave Meltzer, bitch ass nigga. But my man got it. Okay, I feel like he has a lot to accomplish with that belt. I feel like it's going to help him grow into a better wrestler. The whole entire WWE universe is behind him. And it just feels natural. It just feels fucking natural. I love it. I can't comment on Athena 'cause I have not been watching ROH, but she's been an amazing wrestler as far as I've known her from her NXT work and seeing her on the E. I watched a few of her ROH matches. They were kind of okay, but I don't keep up enough to really commentate.
Mm.
Do you want me to count Cody? I always want to count Cody.
Of course, you want to count Cody.
Nah, because me and my man got into it because he doesn't want to accept him into the black community. But I feel like we kind of already made that decision. All right. He's one of us. He's one of us. Um, nah, I'll stop playing. I'll keep Carter off the roster. But I think that in 2024, it is just a phenomenal time to be a wrestling fan. I never felt more proud to like
Mm.
just talk about wrestling. Like it's just cool. It's so awesome to just turn on the screen. Like my people are just out here representing. Like this is all I ever wanted.
Yeah.
You know. So just yeah, this is great. But how do you feel about it, Jordan?
I feel fantastic about it. So starting with Mr. Strickland, he is someone that I followed even before he went into WWE the first time. And then when I saw him in WWE and he started kind of developing with Hit Row, I was like, ooh, he's gonna be special. I'm so glad that they put the NXT FUBU Championship on him, also known as the North American Championship, also known as the BET Plus World Title. Um, I'm playing. Clearly, it's a great title. It has a great lineage. It was won and established phenomenally at Takeover 2018. But there's been a lot of black champions, and so that's what I commonly associated with it. But
It's for niggas.
Swerve, it's for us. It's for the. But I think that him being a world champion is long overdue. He has it, like you said, phenomenal character work, phenomenal promos, phenomenal in ring work. The man has solidified and put himself at the top of AEW through his work. And I feel like he really proved his worth if he didn't prove it before. I feel like there was a lot of talk about, like, well, is it just him or is it like because of the Hit Road thing that he pops? And he went and he separated and he did his own thing. And we see where it is now. And I think that it's well deserved. As it pertains to Trick, like, come on now. Like, one of the reasons why I love NXT is just because the storytelling makes sense. He finished his story with Carmelo last week in that steel cage match, and this time around, he kind of proved that he can win the big one. And so this is a very natural evolution of Trick. Was a very logical next step, and I think that when it comes to NXT, he is the man. I don't think that there's anyone in that building that has as much charisma as him, and I think that he is set for a very, very bright future. As it pertains to Willow, the reason why I love Willow so much is because she is obviously she's a black woman. However, I think that she single-handedly changed the way that we see how black women are represented in women's wrestling. I said this in the chat. I said this in another chat. I was like, yo, not everybody is a nuck if you buck. You know what I'm saying? Like, not everybody is like on some like, what's up? Like, you with it if I like. I feel like there's been this presentation of black women's wrestlers that has been rather rugged or very braggadocious, and I feel like
Mm,
Willow is a natural evolution in the next step because it's like black women can be sweet and can be kind and be compassionate and empathetic, and they
she'll
could
still get back.
still right and they could still ragdoll you and win that gold, and it doesn't make them any less black. I feel like what the New Day did for the presentation of black men in wrestling, Willow has the potential to do for black women.
That's a
And
very interesting comparison. I like
it,
that.
it is because you know when we first saw the New Day, we didn't, you know what I'm saying, we didn't take them as a serious faction because they were dancing and they were singing and they bro had the trombone, but then when they started getting down to business, that is what solidified them as one of the greatest tag teams in WWE history. And it's like
Mhm.
as for so long, for so many black wrestlers, you either had to be this or that. But I feel like the New Day, just like Willow, proved that you can be both, and you can still be considered a respected in ring competitor. So that's what I have to say about Willow. And as far as Athena, I feel like Athena has flown under the radar. I don't watch Ring of Honor as much, but anytime I do, she's putting on really good matches. She has really, really good character work. It's very, very clear that they value her there, and she's in a spot where she can be herself and she can thrive. And that I think is super, super important. So overall, I'm just really, really happy of the state of black champions in pro wrestling. And I think that we're gonna see more. And it, there was something that Moose said that I felt like had an undertone that I'm not gonna address now. But he said, I'm glad that this is happening. Let's normalize it so that we don't have to acknowledge it. Meaning, let's normalize black champions in wrestling so that we don't have to normalize, so that we don't have to acknowledge when somebody is the first of anything. It's 2024.
I
There should
agree.
it it's 2024. We shouldn't have a first black anything. Um, Once again, I felt like there were other undertones that I'm going to address at another time because,
That was a
yeah,
great point he made.
he did. That was a great point. Um, but I want to know how y'all feel about the rise of the black champion in professional wrestling. Let us know in the comments below. We're going to be moving on because the event where Swerve Strickland won his first ever world championship was AEW Dynasty, airing live from St. Louis on April 21st. By the way, thank y'all so much for joining us on Discord. That was fun. But there was a lot that happened that night. And I kind of wanted to get your impression overall on the night. What would you rate the show, and what was the standout moment from the night?
Okay, so coming from somebody that does lean towards WWE, that does not watch AEW weekly, I even found the show to be like surprisingly impressive.
Mm.
Not to say that AEW puts on bad shows. It's just that when you watch wrestling, it's subjective. The type of wrestling that you're presented, they have their niche audience. I don't think I qualify as being their niche audience, but I was still overall enjoying most of the matches. I would say not in any particular order, but the matches I definitely did enjoy. I love watching Okada's match. That was a good match to put towards the open. Yeah, that was Pac versus Okada. That was good. Every Pac match to me is actually a good match. Of course I love Willow. Willow's match was fucking great with
Mm.
Thunder Rosa. Who was Julia Hart version again?
Julia Hart was against Julia Hart was against Willow
Oh, why the hell did I
because
get something else?
it
Why?
was a TBS championship.
Where the hell was Thunder Rosa involved in? She hit somebody.
It was Thunder Rosa versus. I have to.
Julia Hart came out. Nah. You messed it up. You messed me up, bro. Thunder Rosa's versus Willow, and then we had Julia Hart versus Tony Storm. Tony Storm's match was actually towards my top of my favorite matches. Um, but bro, I know I'm right.
No, it was hold on. I'm looking up
Thunder
the card
Rosa
now.
versus Willow, and then we had the Blondes versus.
No, it was
No?
not that.
Then
No, no, no.
then it was Thunder Rosa versus
It,
Tony Storm.
it was Thunder Rosa versus. I'm about to check right now. It was It
Hold
was Willow
on.
versus Julia. It was Willow versus Julia Hart, and it was Tony Storm versus Thunder Rosa. And I know that it was Willow versus Julia Hart because it was for the TBS champion, and Julia Hart was the TBS champion.
It was to show you how much I actually watched the show.
You.
I messed up the titles.
That's a completely different show. God,
I did
I
not,
was like,
I did not change
that.
the show.
Because I was like, Julia was a TBS champion, so she had to have won it from them. Plus, I just remember that match happening and then Mercedes coming out shortly thereafter. That's the
Oh
reason why I
yeah, then her
remember
wigs pissed me
distinctly. Yeah,
off. Yeah. Can I talk about that real quick? Mercedes, I love you down, sis. I love you so much. And I feel like when she was in the E, she had these amazing looks. Even when she was out the E, she was just doing media stuff, and then she went to New Japan. She had these fly behind looks, but these wigs are killing me in AEW. It makes her look cheaper.
they're killing you softly.
Yeah, it's killing me softly because like it's just so much going on, and I think I posted this on my story. But like, y'all ever had like an older computer screen, you punched it by accident or something? Well, I don't know
Oh
how
my
you punch it,
god,
and it's just the colors sprout everywhere, and it's just staggering bands. That's what her hair looks like.
that's her
Just
wigs.
just spammed everywhere. And then she had the audacity to get a Sheen Beyonce dress yesterday and flash it around like, honey, you have the money. I know. Could we all see the numbers? Stop it. Stop it. Okay, let me go back to the show. Now, anyways, um, Tony's match with the correct person being Thunder Rosa was probably my second favorite match of the night.
Okay.
I love Tony Storm's character. Her
Me too.
character would work everywhere. It's a character where like if I was in the room and someone like pitched it to me, I'm like what are you talking about? Like how is that going to work? Like that's just not black and white in a modern day. Why would you do that? But she's so funny. She's so naturally funny, but it still works because she does little hints of like this old fashioned character in the match, but it still works and like looks believable. I love the theatrics that she throws in. Um, and I like Thunder Rosa even more since she came back. I already loved her before, but like I love her even more coming back. She just has like this fiery passion in her. She's even faster than the last time I seen her, and she's even throwing in new moves into that match. I was like, "Ooh, okay, girl, I see you." Um, that was fun. But by far my favorite match of the night had to definitely been Will Ospreay versus Daniel Bryan. That match like blew me out the water. And like I knew it was gonna be a good match because like Daniel Bryan just never has a bad match. And then I can't remember the last time I've been bored watching Will Ospreay. Like he's one of the other he's like the other perfect wrestler besides Seth Rollins, you know? Like he just got it. That match was so good. Like I love the fact that like they studied each other so hard. They were dodging each other and impressing one another and just pissing one another off. Like I love the ending with Daniel Bryan knowing that his fate was coming towards him when he took off, when Osprey took off the band, but he was still looking at him like going, "Yes, yes, hit me, motherfucker. What you gonna do with that? What you gonna do with that?" And he really ran up and took it. He took it like
Right.
a champ. I was like, "Yo, I loved it," but I love the ending with how just like how obsessed Will got with just wanting to just end this nigga. He was just tired, just like going back and forth with these counters that
That
he
man
just
said, boom.
like, it was nasty too. I'm not sure if it was a real hit because it looked like it was real to me. The camera angle was too real. I had to play it back. I was like, yo, it looked like he really did not like him in that moment.
Yeah.
With how the ferocity behind it, like, I was like, I was concerned for Jay. I was like, yo, he just started wrestling and chill, chill. But the match was good, and this is coming from a person that don't got a great attention span. I can't watch long matches. I'll tune out. I'll start switching apps or whatnot. I was actually fully invested. Like it was just a good technical match. Like I loved it. It was great. Unfortunately, I did skip after that because I saw the Young Bucks and I don't really like the Young Bucks, y'all. If I
Mm,
see them, I tune out because there's nothing that they do that does anything for me in this point in my life. They're not bad wrestlers. I just it's just a flatline effect when I see them.
yeah.
So I assumed they were gonna wrap up the show, and I completely forgot about Swerve. So I saw the clips, saw the clips of him winning. Unfortunately, I missed the match. But since I did, and Jordan didn't, Jordan, would you like to tell me about your favorite matches, your rating of the show?
So I'm gonna give the show overall a 8.3 out of 10. I think that the match of the night was definitely Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. What I love about this match more than anything is that it is a reflection, it is a perfect synopsis of Bryan Danielson's retirement tour. He's gonna put on the best match of the night for every show that he's on, and in the process, he's going to put over the people who need to be put over. Danielson could have won that and he could have been easily justified because it's his retirement tour. But he was like, I'm going to take one for the team and Will's going to be the one who goes over. And I think that that takes a great amount of humility to do. So I credit him for that. In addition to that, I feel like the moment was definitely Swerve winning the AEW World Title. That was a really good match. And I think it was just the perfect way to just end the show. Um, Jericho and Hook wasn't my thing. I wasn't too hot on that. But the
Oh, he
every
got booed out
other
the building,
yeah,
bro.
he got booed out the building. Every match outside of that though, I think was really, really, really good and really, really engaging. Even the pre-show matches were really, really good. Like that, the trios unification. And I'm very, very eager to see what they do with that, right? Like, I don't know if it's gonna be just one trios title with both companies or whatever, but I'm very, very
Mm.
intrigued to see what they do with that. So very, very intrigued about it. I think it was a really good show overall. I want to know how y'all feel about AEW Dynasty because this next topic has to pertain to AEW Dynasty because another standout moment was the informal return of Jack Perry. It was the Young Bucks versus FTR in their tag team ladder match for the World Tag Team titles. Jack Perry storms the ring. He rushes the ring. He knocks over, I think it was um, uh, Dax, my bad. He knocks Dax off the ladder. He had on a Sting mask. They took off the Sting mask. It was him. And then this Wednesday on Dynamite, he came back and attacked Tony Khan, solidifying him as the fourth member of the new elite, which comprises of him, the Young Bucks, as well as Kazuchika Okada. So I'm very, very interested to see what happens with that. But how do you feel about this Jack Perry return to AEW? Do you still believe that them airing that footage did them more harm than good?
Um, it looked desperate to me. Um, it looked like, looking at the overall picture, it looked like they thought, okay, if we show this footage, we'll display to everyone how, unruly CM Punk is and how he could behave, and that, you know, Jack Perry was an innocent bystander, and that Tony Khan was put in a dangerous situation. Oh my God, like how could we have possibly kept this person? We made the right move. I think they wanted sympathy out of us, right? Then that didn't work because they pulled the video within 24 hours. Like they had to have seen the feedback. They were all laughing at him and not with him. Now, unless you were an AEW fan. And everyone kept talking about how Punk is about that life. Jack Perry didn't get no hits in. He looks like a punk. He looks like a pussy. Da da da. So to me, it's just odd and awkward to have now this switch where Jack Perry comes in and he wants to take down Tony Khan, and the first thing that went across my brain is, are we going to get a second Tony Khan promo about how his life is at risk?
Yeah.
Is that is that in the works now? Cause now you have to keep that logical consistency. Does that mean
Right.
he gets suspended again? Like what happens here? Cause it it's just it's too many logic gaps for me. A and B. Tony Khan getting jumped didn't make me as like a fan watching feel like, oh my God, that's so badass of them. It just felt like someone was like beating up an old man, because
Yeah.
Tony Khan is so small, so fragile, and clearly he has no experience doing any form of ring work. Otherwise, he would bare minimum knew how to sell something or gave more emotion and more panicking and shaking. It kind of looked like he just stood there, like he just stood there like a doll or like a test dummy with his arms up and just allowed everyone to just do whatever to him. He
Do
didn't.
whatever they want, right?
He didn't panic. He didn't rage. Like I don't know. When I watched Vince McMahon get taken down, like you felt almost kind of good because like he was an asshole. Now we know that Tony Khan's not portrayed as an asshole, so they wanted the sympathy, but it just didn't feel like he. It felt like he was fine with being bullied. Like I don't know. I feel like if you're the big boss, your peers should fear you a little bit. There should be a little bit more resistance, a little bit of fight back, Tony. I don't know. I don't know how I felt about it. It was more embarrassing and cringe than I thought it was effective. But
Hmm.
since they already wedged themselves into this situation, now they kind of had to run with it because this is all out of Tony Khan just having a lot of emotions in one moment towards Punk. Now that he put that card down, now that he put that video and that information out there and he displayed his obsession, now he has to wrap it up into a bow tie to where how can we make this make sense for storyline purposes? And I I don't I don't like it. I don't think it helps anyone or does anyone any favors. I think maybe they were just trying to counteract the fact that Jack Perry kind of looked like a punk in the video. So let's just try to make him look more edgy, considering he was edgy off screen elsewhere doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
Let's keep that consistency of making him look dominant by having him attack the boss, and let's flip that into a all AEW non CM Punk thing. It's just confusing and messy and just I don't like it. Maybe you have a different perspective or you could connect the dots with this logic.
Here's what I will say. I agree with the majority of everything that you said, as far as they've just been kind of wedged into the corner and they're just kind of doing what they can. However,
Yeah.
I do commend them because it's one of those things where it's like if you are put into this position and your back is against the wall, it's easy to retreat and it's easy to just kind of be like, "Oh, it didn't happen." But
Oh,
it's like, you know what? We're
that's what
going
they
to
should
feed
do.
into this. We're going to buy into this. We're going to lean into this. And I feel like the footage made Jack Perry polarizing. It made Jack Perry, I don't want to say must see TV, but it made him more distinct and more special than what he was when he was just Jungle Boy. Because now I feel like as a wrestler, he has a motivating factor, right? I feel like this whole CM Punk thing and him being considered the scapegoat puts him in a position where, as an on screen character, he has something to prove. And I feel like, okay, maybe the line of logic is flawed. Maybe I don't see what everyone else is seeing simultaneously. It's like if you're going to be put in into this position, you got to make the most of it. And I
Mm.
think that that's what they're doing. They're making the most of it. So I'm eager to see what's done. I still think that airing the CM Punk footage was not the best idea. I still think that that was a move that really wasn't based in any reason. They said it was for Dynasty, but it was like, okay, but like, who is Jack Perry going against at Dynasty? I mean, he knocked over FTR, but like now it's 3-on-2, and now it's 4-on-2 because he's a part of the elite. So like, who is FTR going to team up with to counteract these guys? And is it going to be a friend of CM Punk? Is it going to be someone who's in good standing with Punk? I don't know, but like, I don't know. I just feel like they are making the most of whatever they're in right now, and for that, I respect them. So, but I wanted to hear what you guys are saying. How do you guys feel about this Jack Perry attack on Tony Khan and his return to All Elite Wrestling? But we are moving on. So, WWE announced earlier in the month, shortly after WrestleMania, that they will be having their 2024 draft, and we have some of the rules here, and I'm going to run through them. I was about to say something crazy. I'm going to run through the rules of this draft. So, number one, champions on each brand will be protected and are not eligible to be drafted. As a result, Damian Priest, Becky Lynch, Awesome Truth, and Sami Zayn will remain on Raw. Cody Rhodes, Bailey, 8 Town Down Under, and Logan Paul will remain on SmackDown. Uh, and then, even though their status as champions allows them to go to both brands, WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Asuka and Kairi Sane are eligible to be drafted. They will be assigned to that brand if they lose the titles. Okay, that makes sense. Friday SmackDown will feature 4 rounds of draft picks being announced. Each round will consist of the brands making 2 picks apiece for a total of 16 picks being announced, 8 for SmackDown and 8 for Raw. Number 4, Monday's Raw will feature 6 rounds of draft picks being announced. Each round will consist of the brands making 2 picks apiece for a total of 24 picks, 12 for Raw and 12 for SmackDown. SmackDown will have the first pick on Friday, and Raw will have the first pick on Monday. Rosters will go into effect Monday, May 6th, 2 days after Backlash France. So, with all these things in mind, how are you feeling about the upcoming WWE draft?
Did they mention anything about call-ups? Or the call-ups
No,
are just
so actually another fun detail. This is something that wasn't mentioned in the rules. NXT wrestlers are eligible to be drafted to either brand, and also main roster superstars are eligible to be drafted to NXT. So NXT is actually acting as a third brand in all of this, and they will be a part of the draft as
oh,
well.
cool. They haven't done that in a minute where they
Yeah.
actually call people up and it was part of the show. So that's pretty cool. I wonder if we're gonna finally see Braun Breaker go up.
Technically, he is. He's on SmackDown. He's been on SmackDown for a minute, but I think it's just a matter of he was in SmackDown and NXT because while he was on SmackDown, he was also like NXT Tag Team Champion with Baron Corbin, but they dropped the title, so now he's just back. He's just on SmackDown, so you don't have to worry about him being
That was a weird
drafted.
way. That's a weird way of throwing him up. I mean, I guess I like the rules. I like the consistency because I wasn't a big fan of like them switching champions just because.
Yeah.
I don't think there should be any awkward belt exchange because that's taken away the identity of either brand to work really hard for a belt just to trade off your position to somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um, so I like that. But I don't have any names immediately off the top of my head that I see being drafted. That's the
Hmm.
part I can see, like, I guess within the tag team division they're gonna draft people over, but I can't really like think off the top of my head who do I see being drafted because we kind of lost a lot of major stars as of late
Yeah.
with like Seth and Roman taking a break. I don't know. Do you have any people?
So I have a couple tag teams in mind. I can see Street Profits going over. I can see Bianca Belair going over. I can see Rhea Ripley, even though she's injured, because they said that champions are the only ones that are not eligible to be drafted. That doesn't mean that people who are injured can't be drafted. Um, so I think that we're gonna see.
They would move Rhea
Oh,
Ripley, even though they got this whole thing going with her
I
and
don't know.
Lay.
Anything is possible because like now Liv is also not the champion, so Liv could get drafted to SmackDown as well as Rhea Ripley get drafted to SmackDown, and then
And
now
then
they're
Dom
going.
has to as well because they're still part of a faction together.
But then again, they don't specify Dom and Rhea. I mean, tag teams are eligible for drafting. I don't know if it's entire factions, but you bring up a point. Um, but yeah, I think a couple tag teams can go over. I think considering that neither Roman nor Seth are title holders, they can be drafted to another brand, even though I think that that's highly unlikely. But I don't
Hmm.
know. I'm interested to see where they go. I think that if they're not going to make Naomi, Jade, and Bianca an actual faction, I think that one of them could be drafted, whether it's Bianca or Naomi or Jade. Don't know, but I feel like one of them
Mm.
brought over,
I feel like they would
especially.
have their own individual feuds before anything. Pertaining to them, if we're going off of WWE logic, I feel like they're probably gonna pair two of them together as like friends or besties for a while, but we're still gonna work our way into Bianca versus Jade for next year. So I mean, if there's one draft, it wouldn't make any sense to break them up from their brands.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense for sure.
I kind of like the rosters that we have. I feel like I can see call ups happening naturally.
Absolutely. Now, which call ups do you see happening?
Um, okay, so I've been wondering why, like, even though uh Nikita's been injured several billion times and shit, I've been
Mhm.
wondering why like someone like Cameron Grimes got released, but she stays, even though we see less of her. And I feel like they're working for something with her. I could see her coming up. I could also see them trying to bring up Cora Jade or Roxanne because Cora Jade already held the belt. You could have her work down there with the other girls still, but I feel like we already seen enough of her, and I feel like she could work upwards.
Yeah.
Um, who else do I like over there? I feel like everyone else I like down there. I mean, Carmelo Hayes did a lot, unless like they want to make a part two with his feud with Trick Williams. Carmelo has accomplished quite a lot,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't be mad if they brought him up to have his own solo run because he's proven that he could hold it down on his own. Who else? Who else? Gotta think. Everyone else, I kind of like them down there as is, but they're getting a whole new wave of talent coming in.
Yeah.
I don't know. You got any names?
Ilya Dragunov. I think he's definitely going to get called up. Considering he
Hmm.
just dropped the NXT title to Trick Williams, I think he's definitely going to get called up. I think Carmelo's going to get called up. I think Roxanne is going to be called up, and then she's going to be considered like kind of similar to how Braun was on SmackDown and on NXT. I think that she can be on Raw and on NXT because they teased their day. Well, they both Ilya and Roxanne were both on the Raw after Mania, so I feel like
Hmm.
they're both going to get drafted to Raw. I feel like they're both coming up. That's pretty much it for my predictions as far as like call ups and drafting. Like you said, I like the rules. I like the consistency and the fluidity. I like that certain shows have certain picks. I like that there's just certain things that are just going to be set into place. I like the fact that the champions are not eligible because now you have the opportunity to have certain championships associated with each brand. And now, in
Hmm.
order for you to attain that championship and whatever it represents, you have to go to that brand. So I think this is really, really, really good. And I think it also kind of works along the fact that they just kind of rebranded all the titles. You know what I'm saying? So So that's how I feel about the draft. But I want to know how all you guys feel about the WWE draft coming up at the end of April. But we are moving on because speaking of WWE, they recently did some production things that have been causing a great sense of pride from the fans in WWE, which is that they have been doing smaller sets. And according to, you know, certain reports and rumors, this has been put into place so that they can accommodate more people into the arena. Do you agree with this idea of smaller sets, or do you think that WWE should go back to a grandiose kind of presentation?
I'm sorry, you're saying for like weekly shows, a smaller.
You're good now.
Okay, sorry. I don't know what I did. Um, so you're saying for like weekly shows, they're doing
Weekly
smaller
shows.
sets?
Yeah.
That the arena or just the literal stage set?
Stage set is the small is small.
Oh yeah, no, I prefer that. It's actually funny that you brought that up because I was binge watching like the Stone Cold and the Rock whole entire feud, and I was looking at that little ass stage that they had where they had like the purple looking ovals and
Yeah.
then one big screen to the side, and I'm like, wow, it's so simple but effective. You know what I mean? Like sometimes less is more. And I like how it's less distracting. Like I zero in as a viewer and focus on just the star coming out. And it's probably way easier for the people setting up
Oh yeah.
to not have to sit there for what a day and a half sitting there setting up the whole entire stage. Like it's a lot more simplistic. Um, and then it makes you more excited, more appreciative. Hopefully, if they do invest into making the stages maybe look different when it comes to pay-per-views moving forward.
Hmm.
I like that format way better. I had no issues as a kid seeing, at least for my era, seeing like that parallelogram behind screen they had for Raw, and then seeing like a random behind set that was like that had a lot of effort into it. They made it
Yeah.
feel like it was a big thing. It made it feel like the show was important. So I don't mind that, and I feel like they're doing really well with their numbers with the fans. So I mean, if it is going to accommodate more people, by all means, go for it because WWE's up right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think the fans are actually going to mind. You know, I feel like we liked it when it was simple but distinctive for the weekly shows.
Yeah.
It was a them thing that they wanted to up the production just cause. And to me, it was a lot less. It gave a lot less, but you could feel differently. How do you feel about it?
I feel like the reason why they were going with bigger and crazier with sets was because every 3 to 4 years, obviously WWE negotiates new media rights deals. And I feel like when you are giving somebody $250 million a year, you want to kind of give off the sense that their money is being put to use, right? And so I think that that has been translated into bigger sets, but bigger doesn't always mean better, right? And so I feel like even with the set that they have now, even though they don't have the biggest screen in the world, what they make up for a screen, they compensate for in lights and all these other things. And so you're still able to create a spectacle, but at the same time, the design is just very, very simple yet effective. And I think that it allows the viewer to pay more attention to the wrestler than the set. The set shouldn't be larger than any talent on the show. I feel like it should complement whomever is performing. So I love the smaller sets. I feel like the larger crowd, or at least the perception of the larger crowd, is always more important than a larger set, because when you show that there is a large crowd, you are giving off the perception that this is a desirable product and that people need to be tapped in. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that we're in this renaissance of pro wrestling, and the moment that the numbers are going up, everybody's like, yo, what's going on with wrestling? How do I tap back in? It's because there's this perception that is given off that everybody is tapping back into wrestling, and now people see it as more desirable. And I think that the small sets play a big role in that. So that's how I feel about it. And on top of that, WWE is just firing on all cylinders when it comes to their production stuff, like the little one shots that they've been doing where they go from like backstage. Like what they did with Sammy in Montreal was so tough. Like they went, Jay had his match. He went through the back of the arena. He goes outside. He meets up with Sammy. As Jay is going out, Sammy is going in. And then they go from Sammy walking through the hallways to Sammy walking through the crowd. And it was right before his Intercontinental title match in his home city of Montreal. And it's just all one take. Like WWE is firing on all cylinders production wise, and I think that the smaller sets are just another smart production move. So that's how I feel about the all that stuff. But let us know about how you feel about the new changes pertaining to WWE's production stuff. But moving on, so now that a couple of weeks have passed, shortly after WrestleMania, Triple H unveiled not only the WWE World Tag Team Championships, but also the WWE Tag Team Championships. And I wanted to know your take on both belts and which ones do you feel like are better? Are there ones that are better than the other one, or are they just different?
I'm so upset that my introduction of seeing these belts was Whitney sending me the Ferraro chocolates because I can't unsee it. I can't unsee it, y'all. um, but the belts look great. Like looking at it, I like it. I prefer more gold or silver when I see a belt. Um, I think it's a huge upgrade from the colorful toy belts that we had with the blue straps and the red straps. To
Mm-hmm.
me, it didn't look like it was a belt that if I was if I was a grown behind employee, I would want to actually fend for that belt. This actually looks like it got some weight on it, which is
Mm-hmm.
what I like to see with these belts. Obviously, both belts did take on from previous generations ago belt styles, which I like. I like the classic style, but the modernness of adding um the modern day WWE logo on it. The little twinge of red is cute. I don't mind it. I would prefer if it was just still solid gold, but the red's not bothering me. If I had to go off of shapes, or which one I like better, I'm assuming this one's for SmackDown. This more squarish. I like that shape better. I like that shape better. I like how it doesn't have any colors on it. I love the engravements. Um, poof. It just looks clean. Triple H, you have done a great job, and I feel like it was a genuine reaction when I was watching the unveiling.
Yeah.
It looked like they were just genuinely happy and shocked about it. Like, yo, like these look like real belt, like grown ass men belts. Like that's what I like to see.
He said
No,
hyper masculine belt.
no, it's just like the belts look like they were kids' belts. Like I understand if you were marketing those belts towards like toddlers or something with the red and the blue straps and them being circular, but this just looks like an actual belt. Like this belt
Mm.
looks like it took a lot of money to create. Like look at the details down to even like on the side plates. Now
Yeah.
I guess they are still doing side plates with WWE, right?
Yeah, they are. They are. They're still doing side plates.
Aw, boo. That's my only ick. It's my only ick. But I get it, because I think the only reason why they do this over a nameplate is I'm assuming people's names. Maybe if it's because it's hard to print a long name out or something that they can't.
Do like a nameplate.
Yeah, like what? Why did they change that?
I think it was just because of a branding opportunity. And you have to think about merchandise, right? Like, I feel like a side plate with a logo is more marketable than a nameplate because you can change the side plates a little bit easily. And if you put certain side plates on representing certain wrestlers, it just looks better from a brand perspective. Like, think of all the things that you like that you use on a day-to-day basis. You don't the name Apple isn't on iPhone. The logo Apple is on an iPhone. You know what I mean? So I feel like to follow kind of that trend, they figured that they would put the logo of a certain wrestler or of a certain faction on there.
See, this is the way I look at it. It's like, okay, it's like going to college, and like you spent all them years trying to get a doctor's degree, and you want your diploma, and then put your name on your diploma. Like, like
Right.
it don't look as official. Like you could put my picture. My picture, I guess, is cool, but I want my name. I want everyone to know.
That this is mine.
Right. I
That
just
makes
I just
sense.
kind of it's something satisfying about seeing, even if it's not the full name. I'm pretty sure with John with Cena, I think they might have just pronounced Cena on his plate, or maybe I'm wrong. But I just think it's satisfying to just see your own name there.
Right.
But I can understand how it could also possibly be annoying to have to replace that per champion. But I don't hate it. I think it looks phenomenal. It's a huge upgrade, and I feel like Knowing how Triple H is and seeing how, like, the belts that he held, he's probably been like scratching and itching to change this shit for a while.
Oh,
So
100%. 100%.
shout out Papa H. We love you. We love you. But what do you think about it, Jordan?
I agree. These belts are a huge upgrade. I feel like you can always tell when Triple H has a hand in creating a title because it's the perfect marriage of the past, the present, and the future.
Mm,
Like, obviously, like the world tag team championships are resembling the world heavyweight championship on Raw, which has a strong resemblance to Big Gold. Those of you who are unaware, Big Gold was the WCW World Heavyweight Championship that they used from the early 1990s until they closed down, and then it was revamped as WWE's World Heavyweight Championship when they began the brand split in 2002. Triple H was the first WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and so the fact that he was able to incorporate that world title design into this what we see, but keeping it modern as well. And I feel like we see that with both titles. The obviously the world tag team titles look like the world heavyweight title, which looks like Big Gold. The WWE tag team championships look like the SmackDown, the WWE tag team championships that they had in the early 2000s, like in 03, 04, 05. Um, and and they also look like the World Tag Team Championships of the early 90s that were held by like the Hart Foundation and so forth and so on. And like because they have like the side plates, I feel like that's what makes it a modern thing. That's what makes it something that can be used in 2024 is because they have that nameplate modification. Also, sidebar, I know FTR is sick as hell because I know that they wanted belts like these when they were in WWE. So I know they're just like but
they was come back.
nevertheless, I still feel like these are really really good designs and a really really good upgrade. So, but if how do y'all feel about it? Let us know how you feel about the new championships below, but we're going to be moving on. So this
Yeah.
actually happened a couple of weeks ago. The Oklahoma Commission they took an issue to All Elite Wrestling utilizing, I think it's I'm like blanking on the name, but utilizing a transgender professional wrestler in Nyla Rose. They were kind of taking an issue on utilizing a transgender professional wrestler in an intergender match and threatened for further punishment had if they were to continue to do practices like this in Oklahoma. I just wanted to know your take on this because they're talking about Nyla Rose. Um, but I wanted to know what your perception was on this, on Oklahoma taking an issue to the utilization of a transgender pro wrestler in an intergender match.
Sorry, I'm like reading the what I found on Twitter on it.
Yeah,
Are they upset
they're
with
super.
Anila?
I think that they're not upset with Nyla as much as they're upset with AEW because it violates the Oklahoma Commission's rules and statutes.
He stated that it needs to be updated so it doesn't need to affect the future. Commission members ask and question discuss the issue that come along with male versus female wrestling. Damn, that's crazy.
It is, right?
Um, wow. I just want to see what the threat was. There'd be punitive action made against them if they do so. Second by Terry Smith was made by Dr. Larry Lovelace. Blah 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 blah. It's just, it's so childish to me.
Yeah.
Really, just because while I do think pro wrestling is a sport, it's also a performative sport. Um, you know what I'm saying? It's a performative sport, and with
Mm-hmm.
that being said, like there's extra precautions being taken to ensure that both parties are safe, both parties know how to take a hit, both parties know how to take a bump. So when I see any discrepancies between like a biological male versus a female or vice versa or the trans argument, it's just silly because it's just like in pro wrestling, I mean I don't see what the problem is or what any risks are. Even if you want to argue down to like a just like, oh, a man's stronger than a woman, like he's gonna hurt her. It's just like again, it's a performative sport. Like there, you learn how to do everything extremely safe on
Mm-hmm.
purpose. 'Cause if you actually execute the moves the way you want to execute the fucking moves, you'd be done for.
Right.
Hence why someone as tiny and petite as Candice LeRae was out here throwing her poor 120-pound body everywhere, being flung around by men. So when I look at someone like her taking bumps by fully jacked men, I'm just confused because it just reminds me of the whole issue people had with uh with Sonny Kiss, for example. Like, he couldn't win. Sonny Kiss couldn't win wherever he went. They were looking at him and saying, well, he wrestles like a girl and he damn near looks like a girl, so why is he wrestling men? But then if you would have put him against the woman, y'all would have been complaining that
Right.
it's a man against a woman. And then Nyla identifies as a woman. I'm respect that's her gender identity, that she is a woman. Um Again, like, what is the issue? It's 2024. I feel like we've been long past this. I don't it's just to me like, why is that a law over there? I'm assuming Oklahoma has to be a conservative state or something, but like,
Yeah.
again, performative sport. It's not like it's like a full on combative sport to where you could actually like line up biologies. Like,
Hmm.
it's just stupid. It's just fucking stupid. And I feel bad for Nyla because she probably has to deal with this shit everywhere she goes,
Yeah.
and she's just trying to exist. And she obviously has shown that she could work just fine with women. She done it for like what, 4 years now. AEW has been
Legit.
a thing since 2019. It's been 4 or 5 years.
But 5 years, yeah, that's crazy when you think about it. That's nuts.
Right. And it's not like she hid it. It's been public knowledge that that is a trans wrestler identifying as a woman. She only posts it all over her social media if it not has been mentioned on the show. So even if you want to blame AEW, it's like, why are you not looking up the talents? Why? Why did you not do your research, and why are you complaining? Why is that on AEW that they had to look for these things? Like, you should be aware of who's coming in if that was the case. So it's
Yeah.
like, whatever way you paint it, Oklahoma, you wrong as hell.
To kind of piggyback off of that, I don't even think that this is a AEW issue as much as it is an Oklahoma issue, and I think that it is a reflection of a larger problem, which is kind of like the common theme amongst arts and entertainment and sports industries, is that we see these laws pertaining to certain people, and they're reflective of what's happening overall, right? Like like when we see all of these homophobic and transphobic laws put into place, put into legislation in regular everyday life, obviously stuff like that is going to trickle down to the wrestling industry, to sports, to arts and entertainment. And it's really just a matter of a means of control. At the end of the day,
Hmm.
like, AEW has been branded as a professional sports league that has been super progressive from day one.
Yeah.
Nyla Rose, Nyla Rose is the second AEW World Women's Champion. She was the first transgender, I believe, to win a women's world champion. This is stuff that we know about AEW. And so I don't think that it is fair to expect AEW to change not just its brand, but its approach to pro wrestling just because you have a homophobic law in place.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and I think that is just overall, it's just not a good look. Like, I think that when it comes to pro wrestling, it's very very clear that it is for everybody, that different companies have different approaches to it, and I feel like everybody should have the free will to do what they want as far as how they book their shows, and they shouldn't be, in, or I should be say considerate of some laws that don't really have a lot of merit or a lot of moral ground. um but yeah, it's just super disappointing. I would have to say that I have to give Tony Khan credit for taking it on the chin and just being like, listen, if y'all mad, y'all mad. It is what it is. Like, this is
And
what
if
we're
y'all
doing.
sue, I got the money. Now what?
Right. Exactly. So I give Tony Khan credit
Kron.
for that. But yeah, I was like, Kron. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all my feelings about it. I just think that it's dumb that in 2024 we're still navigating this. But let us know how you feel about this in the comments below. That concludes our show for today. Thank you guys so much. And we'll be back with y'all next week.